Yes, he talked about bringing jobs back, manufacturing back, et cetera. But what's he actually going to do? A $4.5 trillion tax cut for the richest people in the world, for corporate executives. The reason why they're doing all these Doge cuts in a panicked, chaotic way is so they can say, oh, no, it's okay. The Doge cuts will cover the $4.5 trillion. Oh, it's okay. The gold card and the tariffs will cover the $4.5 trillion. When that's utter nonsense.
Cenk Uygur was a guest on Piers Morgan Uncensored to talk about Doge and Trump's tariffs. And no matter what you think of Cenk Uygur and his show, in my opinion, he always does a great job when he's on Piers Morgan's show, pushing back against Piers Morgan's MAGA support and right-wing propaganda. So we're going to take a look at these clips of Cenk Uygur and Piers Morgan. I have my thoughts on this too. Let's check it out together.
I just think when people look at Trump and think he doesn't know what he's doing, as you said, it's all chaos, blah, blah. I honestly don't believe that is the case. He's got some very smart people around him, not least Elon Musk. And whatever people think of Musk, when they say he's stupid, they're the stupid ones. He's one of the most brilliant minds in America. Now, he's a little odd, there's no question. By his own admission, he's a bit autistic. He doesn't behave in the way that we might normally expect our political leaders to behave, and he kind of is a political leader in a way. But what he's doing with Doge, for example, I imagine that resonates very well with most Americans if they keep finding clear evidence of waste.
Yeah, well, so the idea of finding waste, fraud, and abuse has been popular forever and ever. And in fact, Al Gore actually did a pretty good job in finding a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse during the Clinton administration. They cleaned it out, and Clinton was the last president to balance the budget. So there is waste, fraud, and abuse there. The place you would start is subsidies. There's like $30 billion in oil subsidies. It's just nothing but a robbery. I can show you robbery after robbery. Corporations pay money to politicians, and they get subsidies out. I despise it. So if that's what they did, they would be intensely popular. But what did he do instead? Oh, I'm just going to cut a whole bunch of people that came in last. I'm going to fire a whole bunch of people without even looking. And then that made it really unpopular. They've somehow found a way to make fighting fraud, waste, and abuse unpopular. It's now at 37% and dropping in terms of Doge's popularity. So there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. I mean, you can make excuses about autistic, et cetera, but I need a brother who can think through a plan. Both Musk and Trump are like, I'll just throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. That one stuck.
Is Elon Musk, is he underestimating the difference between, or misunderstanding the difference between the business world, in which he's been all-conquering, and the political world? In other words, some things may make completely logical business sense, but from a political standpoint, if you start to see the polls massively responding negatively, Trump's a politician now. He's not going to let that slide for very long.
Yeah, that's why he reined him in. So that's why I say he does A/B testing. He tries one thing. If it doesn't work, he goes to the next thing. And by the way, that is, to be fair to your point of view, that is a bit of a plan.
Yeah.
It's a plan to say, well, look, I don't really know what's going to work, but I'll try this. And if it doesn't work, I'll retract.
Well, what I think he's doing, Winston, I think he's trying to force action to be taken to resolve things that have been unresolvable, right? The Ukraine war. You know, I spoke to him a couple of weeks before he got inaugurated, and he was telling me that the Pentagon has said 100,000 people had died on the battlefield in the previous 6 weeks. 100,000. It's on both sides, right? He said it was based like a World War I killing field, with flat fields, and they're just killing each other all day long.
I'm going to stop here for just 1 second to address what Cenk Uygur was saying in terms of Doge. And he brings up a really great point that people have talked about for years and years on the left, but I haven't really heard it talked about much in terms of Doge, is the oil subsidies. That's one of the very first things. If you want to cut waste and abuse, go in and cut the subsidies for, the richest companies in the world, to subsidize them to drill for oil. It's absolutely insane. That should have been stopped decades ago. In terms of Piers Morgan here talking about, him coming in and running it like a business, was he wrong in terms of trying to, and this is talking about Elon Musk, in terms of trying to bring business principles into running the government? This is something that Republicans have talked about for decades, and it's moronic. A business is completely different from a government. Businesses go under all the time. You can't, if your local restaurant, there's just not enough people eating here anymore. Sorry, March 1st, we've got to close down. You can't say, and I know this isn't this wouldn't be federal government, this would be state and local government, But you can't say, well, we just can't afford to run the fire department anymore, so April 1st is our last day. We've had a good run for a couple hundred years, but the fire department is going under. Or, we're just, we can't afford to make roads anymore. Sorry. It's just insanity.
They said it has to stop. Now, did he have the one-day fix? Of course, he didn't. No, I don't think anyone thought he did. Has what he's done since hastened a potential settlement? I would argue it has. He's got Zelensky to agree to the parameters of a peace arrangement. He's got to persuade Putin. That's the big test. We'll see if Putin goes along with it, or what Trump does to Putin to make him go along with it. But I do see method there to what he's doing. Same with Israel. We're going to come to the Israel-Gaza situation a little later. But I do see, like the tariffs. He's always been on about tariffs, Trump.
Tariffs is his favourite word.
I've known Trump 20 years. He's always had a bee in his bonnet about tariffs and about other countries ripping America off. And so he's saying, right, if you're going to do this to us, we're going to whack you. And they're all blinking, by the way, these countries.
Yeah, I just would like to talk about tariffs because I think that's really important. As we're talking, a lot of what's happening in the stock exchange is because of his tariffs. Now, why this is really important is because he managed to appeal to working people in America, the forgotten, the Rust Belt, the flyover state people whose industries were gutted. I think we might have some agreement on this. These were left behind Americans. And they were left behind by globalism, by free trade across the world. They were the ones who suffered.
Indisputably.
Now, his ideas with tariffs, whether or not he can pull them off, none of us can know whether or not it will. But the idea is to bring back, to onshore those industries, encourage manufacturing. I would note Elon Musk has said he's going to double Tesla productions, increase manufacturing in America. This is done specifically for the working people of America. It's a reason why the unions, or at least uneducated unions...
He's a working class hero, Cenk.
No, nonsense. So look, here's the thing. Is he running as a populist? Yes, he ran as a populist. Yes, he talked about bringing jobs back, manufacturing back, etc. But what's he actually going to do? A $4.5 trillion tax cut for the richest people in the world, for corporate executives. The reason why they're doing all these Doge cuts in a panicked, chaotic way is so they can say, oh, no, it's okay. The Doge cuts will cover the $4.5 trillion. Oh, it's okay. The gold card and the tariffs will cover the $4.5 trillion. When that's utter nonsense. You know it's not going to cover the $4.5 trillion. It's a giant giveaway. Look, he's a bit of a Trojan horse for corporate rule. So he rolls in as a populist. He opens up the hatch. And then next thing you know, Elon Musk and all the tech bros come out of the horse and go, give us giant tax cuts. Give us deregulation. Fire everyone at the SEC. Fire all the inspector generals. Why? Because we're going to rob the place blind. And then we'll give me a crypto reserve filled with junk. That makes no sense at all. So trillions of dollars in robbery headed in our direction. And who's it going to help? The average American? No, it's going to rob the average American to help corporate executives. So let's be honest about what's happening.
Okay.
So in terms of the tariffs, this is another thing that the Republicans talk constantly about. Well, this is what the American people elected Donald Trump to do. I don't recall anybody talking about getting into a trade war with Canada. But now we're in a trade war with Canada, and Trump's saying all kinds of nasty things, and Canada is retaliating. Nobody in America that I knew of looked at Canada as any kind of an enemy. But Trump is, he treats our actual allies like dirt, and then he has kid gloves for Putin and North Korea and, these other dictatorships. In terms of the tariffs, this is one of the things that's the funniest thing to me about the tariffs is the Republicans keep talking over and over again about how they want to bring jobs back here to America. They want to bring jobs back here to America. Well, do they think that if these jobs come back to America, that they're going to be able to pay the same salaries as what they pay in countries like Mexico? I did some checking on the rates of pay for Mexican auto workers, and the lowest rate that I found was $1 an hour, and I believe that was BMW paying that. So that would be, a German company, but the American companies aren't paying a whole lot to the Mexican workers. So those salaries are going to go up a bunch if they bring those manufacturing jobs to America. And I'm not saying don't bring manufacturing jobs back, but you can't have high prices on the goods that we pay and then low salaries. And this is one of the things that's funny about this to me is I can remember when I was a kid, people constantly railing against the American auto workers, saying, oh, these American auto workers, you know, they have these unions and they get paid $60,000 a year to turn a wrench. You don't think that's going to happen if these jobs come back to America and the people are making, you know, good salaries, and then all of these Trump supporters are going to be complaining about that they're paid too much. The auto workers and the other manufacturing people. You can't have it both ways. You can't have low salaries for people making the goods, but then the goods be expensive. But let me know what you think about all this. Do you agree with what Cenk Uygur had to say here? The other British guy that was on, I would have given his name, but I didn't see in the notes what his name was, but I was unfamiliar with him. But Piers Morgan is doing his typical thing here where he mostly defends Trump because that's his MO. But let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.